Hi, Rudy Rodriguez here. And on today's episode, we have a special guest with us, Mr. Brad Hart. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Rudy, for having us. I'm grateful to be here, and I hope y'all are having a fun time with your events. It's back in motion, gang. We're back in action here.
That's right. And you recently, with your mentor, Jay, you guys did an event here just a few, maybe like a month ago, and it had been like 5 years, I think, since you've done it, right?
Yeah, so Jay started this event, I would say 8, 9 years ago now, and he ran it with a dear friend of both of ours, Joshua Hayward, for many years. And they did, I don't know, 8 or 10 of them, got a really good momentum going. And then 5 years ago, Joshua decided to leave because he wanted to explore other parts of life. He was climbing mountains and doing adventure trips and things like that. And honestly, I think they're both a little burned out on events. It's a lot of work, and he hadn't done it in a while. I think they brought it back as a test as virtual, and the pandemic, it just didn't quite meet their expectations. So it just been kind of sitting on the shelf, but it really transformed my life because I went in 2016, and that was the first time I realized that I had been a part of masterminds, but actually building masterminds as a business model could have been a success. So I took what I learned. I met a gentleman there on the VIP day, actually the day before the event, named Michael. We started a mastermind in Hong Kong and China that did really well. And on the back of that, I launched a marketing agency that became a 7-figure deal. And I was actually the epitome of the process, right? The mastermind of millions process. So now we have this event together. We were in Cabo recently and talked about doing it together. And the long story short, which we'll dig into some more of the details and the nitty gritty, is we put it together in 4 months. Neither of us had 100% bandwidth or capacity. It was kind of a lark, like, hey, let's see if we can make this work. We had about 145 people register, about 115 attend, and we ended up doing over 10K per head between the sponsors and speakers and everybody who sold and ourselves at that event. So that's kind of the headline, and it is a lot of brain damage and learning along the way, especially for me, because it's my first big event. I'd done a boatload of masterminds, but just figuring all that out and kind of my thought process around that, I think, is where the real value comes from.
All right. Sorry about that. On the recording, we had a little hiccup with the internet, but we caught the gist of it. And congratulations on having a recent event with over 10K per attendee average. I mean, that is a huge thing, being in the event business myself and getting to work with many events and seeing the results. 10K per head is like the BHAG in many
Yeah.
cases. So so and BHAG, I mean BHAG is big, hairy, audacious goal. So
Yeah, and hopefully we can repeat it, right? I mean, we'd like to do 2 of these events a year. I think there was a lot working for us that kind of led to. So it wasn't from a scratch thing. It was something that he had done before. So most of the event content was figured out. The process, the formula, if you will, was figured out. So I say like 80% of it was already working, and it was just adding that 20% of my own stuff, bringing it in, and all that great stuff. We had a lot of really wonderful people supporting us. We had a great sales team from Suzanne Evans and them. We had Linda and Blue Diamond Events kind of running the back of the room and figuring all that out. And they're incredible. So we had a professional team, and that I think made the big difference, because even though I was nascent to events, they all had done a bajillion events. So for me to be able to catch up and just not screw their party up was basically my main goal. And I think we accomplished that. So I'm pretty excited about it.
awesome, man. Thank you. In a moment, we're going to jump into all those details. But for our audience who haven't quite met you yet, a couple quick bio points. The event we're talking about is Mastermind 2 Millions that you run with your partner, Jay Fissette. And you actually have another one coming up in October, which our audience can have a special opportunity to tune into if they want to see the magic in action here. And your personal background, 20 years as an entrepreneur, 16 of those years also managing wealth and building mastermind groups. You have been one of the founding partners with Tony Robbins and Dean Graciosis in their Knowledge Business Blueprint business when they launched, and are consistently one of the top 10 affiliates for their organization. So when it comes to learning how to design, build a mastermind, you and your partner are the go-to guys in the space. So really eager and excited to hear your golden nuggets on today's episode. So let's go ahead and jump on in and share maybe in a chronological order from beginning to end. Like, what are your lessons learned and best practices from this recent experience?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I think having that really clear why and wanting to impact people at a higher level. I've been doing Build a Mastermind, which is our award-winning program, for a couple of years, maybe 4 years now. Wrote a best-selling book called The 8-Minute Mastermind that kind of fed into that whole thing. It was always evergreen. Like I never did a big feeder event. I was selling it mostly myself. Maybe I'd have a closer or setter here or there to help out. But we did, pretty well. We sold like 12,000 books through internet marketing and just having pages and funnels. And, we're mostly marketing through Facebook. And on the back of that, we did about 1 million too. Right. So, decent result, nothing crazy. I'm sure there's people out there who have done a lot bigger revenue, but for a lifestyle business that takes up maybe 5 hours a week, we're not talking like huge amounts of effort for that result. So I was pretty proud of that. And, simultaneously, Jay had been doing masterminds and teaching Mastermind in Millions for many, many years. So when we came together as joint venture partners, it just seemed like a really natural fit because he had parts of this figured out that I didn't want to even try. Like I would have never done an event from scratch. It just sounds like a nightmare and a lot of risk and dealing with hotels and contracts. And even with the experience of all these people, there was still a lot to figure out. So it's not a small undertaking and you really want to come correct. But I had a lot of faith and reliance in Jay's experience, and not just that, but his partners and relationships that he had already built over decades. I didn't really have to figure it all out or, know who to talk to or try a bunch of people out that didn't work. I could just kind of plug into what he already knew. And that I think was the biggest benefit. So if I was starting an event from scratch, I wouldn't even know where to begin. But with that infrastructure already in place, with that team already in place, I was able just to kind of step in and bring my magic and focus on the things that were unique and different that I do. And for example, Jay is very, if you study wealth dynamics, like he's a star and I'm a supporter. And what that means is like, he's really good at like coming up with great ideas and communicating that to people. And then I'm very like matter of fact, consistent communicator, relationship builder, back end of the guy, but I'm not really like the flashy, look at me storyteller kind of guy. So I think we generally both could be successful at masterminds. We have a different approach. I have a more introverted, scientific, one by one build a mastermind kind of approach. And he's more of a like, oh, you just throw a party and invite everybody and drink wine and they join your mastermind. And like, where his stuff kind of falls down, mine picks up, and where my stuff kind of doesn't scale always, his stuff kind of fills in the gaps. Because really what it comes down to is the filter. We call it that fucking influence litmus test that everybody resists, the FILTER. And what that is if you're going to build a mastermind, which is what we teach people how to do, can you text 10 people and have them change their plans to show up at your house and do a wine conversation in cash, which is what Jay teaches. If not, you got to do my method. You got to build it one by one. And then we do market research and we transition into an offer. We make customized offers. I have a really, comprehensive sales training. Shout out to all my mentors and people that have taught me that. So like our processes actually really complement each other well. The other thing that I wasn't expecting, and I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, is our chemistry on stage was really great. Like he's just incredible. 30 years speaking. He's got a million stories. He's captivating. He's emotional. He moves around. He's got a lot of energy. And then I can like pick out the nuggets and underscore them. And like, this is what you need to know. This is bringing it down to earth. So one of our attendees, and you can check this out at mastermindinmillions.live. We have like a speaker reel and a testimonial reel. One of our attendees, Corby, he pointed out that like Jay is the canvas. He paints the big picture. And then I'm like the paintbrushes. I fill in the details. And that was really effective. So people love that. They loved our sense of humor. Stuff was going wrong left and right. Our slides wouldn't work, or this wouldn't work, or that wouldn't work. And we just kind of met it with like a shrug and like, okay, well, we're going to do it this way instead. Like our slides didn't work during the offer and we still closed more than half of the people who could buy. So that's pretty good. So stuff like that. Just to put another pin on Corby, just to give a sense of the impact, because that's why we're there, right? The money's just the scoreboard and that's what gets people in the door, but the impact is why we do it. That guy, same guy, Corby, he has been a sales guy for a long time. And based on the stuff that we taught him to do groups and masterminds instead of sales one-to-one, he went out and he made over $100,000 in cash while he was at the event. In a 3-day event, he was just like taking calls around the margins. And 3 weeks later, we checked in, he had done over $350,000 in sales, in cash collected, and filled his mastermind and an accountability group on top of that. And we worked out the hourly rate on that. He's going to be doing about 6 hours of delivery for the next year. He's going to make over $1,300 an hour based on that delivery as his new little side gig, his little side hustle that he put together because of our event. So like if he can do it, with his skill set, I believe anybody can do it or build towards that, because it's a really powerful thing. And you're not competing against everybody out there. You're making the smallest, most niche, customized offer for just those people. And that's why it crushes. And that's what we teach. So we want to continue to teach not only the elements of what made this event so successful, but to kind of just give people an understanding that the mastermind might be the most leveraged way to do it. And that's the thing I've been teaching for years, and I'm really most excited about and proud of, because it changed my life. It changed, I've been a part of 50 masterminds. I've started 15, 20 of my own now. I've helped countless people start them, and Jay is even more than I have. And it's the one model that I feel the world is needing most right now, both from a getting paid to learn perspective, both from a networking building perspective, from launching companies and making deals, to really up leveling your skill set and your network. It's the best money I ever spent. So I really highly recommend the model.
Thanks for sharing there, Brad. A couple of my quick takeaways from what you shared so far is one, pointing to the team dynamic between you and your partner, Jay, Wealth Dynamics, him being a star, you being a supporter. I highly recommend that assessment to anyone listening to this. I did that assessment when I started in the business as well, and it helped me. I was actually a supporter as well, Brad.
Oh, cool.
And coincidentally, most of the people I partner with are stars.
Yeah.
And so
And
I
you
guess
know exactly what I'm talking about when you have a star that's like, you just got to let them do their star thing, but they're total, like they're on the struggle bus for everything else. Like they're incredibly powerful if you put guardrails around them, but otherwise they're going to get hurt.
exactly. Well, that's why I think it tends to work. Those personalities, how they
Yeah.
can match up, which is really cool. And I love what you were saying as well, as like the money's a scoreboard, but you're doing it for the impact. And I think that's a great place to come from when doing events and running mastermind groups.
Yeah.
Our audience here, they're event leaders, or people who are business owners who are looking to add events to their business model. Most of them have the intent of launching some sort of mastermind in the back end of their event, or maybe they already are. And that's what you do. You create and launch masterminds. Anything you can share specifically on that topic that you feel would be really valuable for our audience to know?
Yeah. And I mean, the event's called Mastermind of Millions, and it's not magical, right? To make millions of dollars with mastermind, it's just math. Like if you have 35 people paying you $30,000, that's $1 million, right? It's not some insane thing. You know, everybody's like, oh, I got to start a membership. I got to write a book and I got to do it. I'm like, I've done all that. It's fine. I've been a coach. I've been a consultant. I've launched podcasts. I've done all of this, but dollar for dollar, pound for pound, impact and income and the amount of time that I want to spend, masterminds are it. It's just the highest impact, highest income way to add profit to your business with low overhead, low brain damage, low delivery. And people get a lot of results because it's not just on you. You can bring in experts, you can facilitate, you know, just getting people clear is really important. So I would start with that. It's just like the end result, like just what do you want to make times what do you want to charge? And usually people need to double the number because they just don't understand the value that they're going to actually provide until they see it in action. So my whole goal, anytime I work with somebody, I've worked with hundreds of clients at this point, is just to get them to do one mastermind on any topic and just do the process all the way through and see the transformation for themselves. Because it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's like 1 + 1 = 11. And they won't get it. They won't grok it until they see it. And all I have to do is just take the tens of thousands of hours of my learning and just distill it in that format and just go do it, and they'll see it. And then they'll be more confident, and that'll breed more action and more confidence and more leverage. And they may not make, you know, they're not going to get rich doing the first one, but over time it becomes a really powerful part of their business. So that's really the piece. I think what Jay brings to the table is all that experience. He's really good at structure and like, you know, coming up with acronyms and coming up with process and coming up with like the big painted vision of what this mastermind could be that makes people excited and it's sexy and they want to sell it. I'm really good at filling in the gaps of like, okay, where do the people come from? How do we enroll them? How do we keep our conversion rate high so we don't get burned out or burn our leads? And I think together we're unstoppable in that regard because so many programs are missing key skills and components. I'm a real big believer that you need skill sets and mindsets in order to build assets or become an asset to a company, right? And we teach all the skills you're going to need. We teach everything from market research to facilitation, to sales strategy, to positioning, to branding, to marketing, to messaging, all of these elements that allow you to show up and be competent in selling your mastermind and fulfilling your mastermind, that you add a lot of value and you get referrals. Like I had one client, Vamsi, he did one mastermind and got all the referrals from that one, led to 3 more masterminds. Like he didn't have to do any marketing. If you do it right, it's pretty powerful stuff. So Yeah, if you're interested in that, I mean, check out Mastermind of Millions, I would say is the easiest kind of inroad to our world. We have like stupid cheap VIP and GA tickets right now for like 97, 197. They'll go up after a little while, but for right now, we're at mastermindofmillions.live. We're going to do it all virtual in October. We're testing out both models. So we did the in-person live, which we talked about some of the data before. We're doing the virtual version in studio. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll make a decision how we want to go forward, whether it be hybrid or one or the other. But I really think, as far as where the world is trying to go wide, everybody's trying to go wide and go bigger. I'm trying to go smaller and deeper. So what I mean by that is, like, I don't want to have a 30,000 person event and fill a football stadium like a Grant Cardone. Nothing wrong with Grant. I've met Grant, worked with Grant, and his team is great. And like, they're trying to be the biggest, the baddest billionaire marketers in the planet. And like, okay, cool. But the reality is, you can go so much deeper with fewer people and make such a bigger impact in so much less time, where it's not your whole life, where anybody could do it, where anybody can add that kind of revenue stream to their business and really create something special for them. I think it would be a crime not to try, right? It'd be a crime not to test that out for you. Like, this is the number one tool in my entrepreneurial toolkit. I've written 3 books. I've launched countless courses. I've been on countless podcasts, speaking from stage and events, and millions of dollars spent on personal development. And I keep coming back to masterminds over and over and over again, because they fit me. I'm not saying they fit everybody, but they fit me like a glove. And I want to teach as much as I've learned to all these other people, so they can make domino ripple effect type impacts to people I've never met. Like, I have one client, Chris, started out as a cop in New Zealand, 7 years on the force, burned out, PTSD, the whole nine, still wanted to help cops, became a personal trainer instead. Wasn't getting it done on the financial front, said, hey, I want to start a mastermind for cops. I got to get leverage on this thing. How can I do that? I said, well, I don't know how to do that, Chris, because I've never done it before, but I have the methodology that I've learned to test this out, right? So we're going to put it on paper. We're going to do the market research. We're going to test it by selling it. We're going to nail it, and we're going to scale it. And that's our little 5-step process. So we take him through the process. He gets 15 clients for his beta out of the gate. So it really works. And then again, he didn't know anything about marketing, selling, anything. We taught him all this. He had a lot of imposter syndrome. He didn't want to price himself too high and all this stuff. So as time went on, we got him to increase his prices. We got him to overcome some of these fears. We got him to, just kind of like work it out as he went through. Within that year, he got 100 clients. He had a month that year where he made more in a month doing a mastermind they'd ever made in a year as a cop or personal trainer. He learned how to do Instagram ads. He never run ads before. He was getting $9 for every dollar he was spending on Instagram, which is nuts. That's like, you never see that, because it was a brand new niche that he's breaking open. It was underserved. And now 4 years later, he sometimes manages the calls. He's like one of my best friends. We go on motorcycle trips together. We're doing another one in May. And he's had over 600 clients go through his program now, which is absurd. It's like awesome. And this is a guy who had everything going against him in the beginning: burned out, PTSD, no confidence, imposter syndrome, no business sense or acumen, didn't know personal trainer, didn't know anything at that point. And now he's a killer. He's incredible. And he just came to the event. He got more out of it the second time around, seeing some of the same content again than he did the first time. And now he's going to work with police stations and police chiefs, and he's networking with those people. He's like breaking down doors and helping more and more cops, because he has this base level of confidence. And that's what I always tell people, is like, they don't have the evidence yet, so they can't have the confidence. And they're kind of like a chicken and the egg scenario. If you haven't seen something work yourself, you're not going to be confident that it can work. So how do you break that confidence? How do you break that scenario or that dichotomy? Well, you got to borrow the confidence from somebody who's done it, from somebody who has the evidence, until such time as you can take the action to get your own evidence, which will breed your own confidence. So that's all I'm looking to do. That's the simple core of what I'm trying to do. And that would be true whether I was teaching, how to fly a plane or how to build masterminds. Like, if you can see me do it and you can see others do it, you'll suspend your disbelief long enough to take the actions to do it yourself. And I make everything as simple as possible for you. If you do it, it works. And then you get the confidence, and then it builds the evidence yourself. And that works really well. So that's what I'm doing.
Thanks for sharing that, Brad. And what some of my takeaways from what you shared in that segment is the importance of following a process and doing market research when it comes to creating your offering. In this case, a mastermind. Oftentimes people I see are just trying to pull an opera out of their head or create a mastermind out of their head, thinking it's a common problem in business, right? We come up with something we think is going to go over really well in our heads without doing market research, and it flops. sounds like you have like a very specific process based in market research
Yeah.
to be able to develop a niche offer that works.
Born in
Uh,
a lot of pain too. I'll tell you the story of how I got there if you want. Back in 2011, which was a long ass time ago in internet marketing, I got the idea. I was in real estate at the time. I wanted to help people find their own apartments in New York City because back then you had to like hire a broker and pay 15%. It was kind of sucky, right? And my goal is to create a course that would teach them just how to do it themselves. And so I bought the domain for 10 years. I hired a coder to build the website in HTML. I hired a copywriter to build the copy. I hired an actor to do all of the filming for the program. I put it out on DVD and got a fulfillment house and spent about $45,000. Hired the business coach, did everything I was supposed to do, wrote all the emails, launched it, and we sold 5 and 3 were funded. And it took 6 months of my life and $45,000 to get to a failure. And I held on to those DVDs for years before I told them to finally incinerate them, because I had broken the cardinal rule, which is I did not test it before I sold it, or sell it before I built it rather. You got to test it by selling it. When people will actually give you money, you know, you have something, and don't worry about building it. And you don't have to lie to people. I always tell people, it's like, I'm not lying to anybody. I'm just saying, hey, listen, I got this idea. It's going to be open to a small number of beta pilot test people, right? 5, 10, 15, whatever it is, right? And I'm going to charge half of what I intend to charge when it's fully fleshed out. And I'm going to give twice as much of myself to it now and attention to people than they'll ever get in the future. And I'll guarantee it. If it's not an amazing fit in 30 days, I'll give you your money back. So you have nothing to lose. You can test this out with me. And as a founding member, your responsibility is to give me feedback so I can improve it and make it even better. But we're focused on this outcome. You feel like a good fit. Would you be willing to have a quick market research chat to see if this would be great? And so I can learn more about your needs, your goals, your aspirations, your fears, desires, etc. And again, that's a long-winded way to do it, but it's essentially a version of what I tell people to say. And if people aren't willing to enroll under those circumstances, where it's like half the price and twice the attention and money back guarantee, your offer isn't there yet. It's just not there yet. So you try something else, you try something else, you try something else. And when you get those first 5, 10, 15 people, then you build it out with them, then you perfect it and you nail it. And then you can decide, hey, is this the people I want to help? Or are these the problems I want to solve? Or is this going really well? Does it fit my lifestyle? Great, scale it to the moon. If not, pivot, change it up. But you made some money, you helped some people, you did it once through, you see it's possible. And now you have a new skill set and tool set. And it's not just masterminds. You can use that same process with any product, any service at any level and any kind of business. And the people who do the market research consistently, they stay ahead of the market because they are, moving through the changes and the ebbs and the flows of the tide, versus people who wing it. They get right sometimes, they get wrong a lot of times, right? I've probably launched over 100 projects over my career, easily tried like 100 different things. Maybe 6 or 7 have been like decent. And now I've gotten to the point where like, I'm so anti building anything before it's like proven out. I won't even build a website for something until I've made $100,000. Case in point, I had a mastermind I built called the Family Office Mastermind Offer, or FOMO for short, because there's like a lot of crypto people that were like not understanding investing. They were just messing around in crypto and losing money. So I was like, okay, I got these wealthy people who need help, and let me try it out. And I did a little beta program. I think I enrolled 6 or 7 people. I made like 75 grand. I'm like, okay, cool. And we did that for a year, and it was 2 hours of my time every week, maybe, and I was testing it out. And honestly, I just wasn't in love with it. Like I realized halfway through, I'm like, this isn't where I want to be spending my time. I love these people and I want to serve them, but not in this way. Right. So I shut that down. I never made a website for it. It was all in Google Docs and like in the back end of Thinkific, and you'll never know it existed. But I got to choose that from the other side of, we made money, we helped some people, and we tested it out. Not from, oh my God, I spent a year on this and I made no money and I hate it. And I'm like way more burned out and disillusioned than when I started. And then the other side, to build a mastermind, the mastermind and mastery, the crypto stuff, which I haven't even talked about, which we're doing. We're doing live events for crypto now, online. Like that's all working. I'm going to scale that to the moon. Like when you find something that works, add a 0 to it, add 2 zeros to it, make it as big as fast as possible, because it's not going to stay working. The market will move away from you. Opportunity windows are always opening and closing, and the market's always shifting. So you may get 1 to 5 years where your offer really works, and you got to sell as much of it for as many people and help as many people as possible. Because if not, the market shifts away from you, the competition creeps in, whatever it is, and you're in bad shape. The only other thing I'll add to that is, if you can't find anybody in your niche that's doing something with that niche that's successful, run the hell away. Like the likelihood that you're going to be the first person that got it right is so low, especially when you're just starting out. That's a common mistake I've seen people doing. They're doing something that nobody's ever done before. They can't find any comps. They can't find anybody who's been successful. And they think, oh, I have this brilliant idea that's going to work. No. What's more likely that's happened is like 10,000 other people have tried it. Nobody's been successful at it. And you need to find something, somebody's been somewhat successful at it. And here's the rub. You don't have to compete with Ramit Sethi or Tim Ferriss or any of these top level people. You just have to do what they do on a more intimate, smaller scale for more money. And you can pull a couple $1 million out of that niche, no problem, because it's already proven.
Brad, what you just shared there, I think, is one of the best pieces of advice anyone can hear. I remember getting that lesson about 10 years ago, and it was very counterintuitive. This idea of like, actually look, you have an idea, do market research, see what else is working in that industry. If there's no competition, it probably means it's not working.
Because somebody would have done it. Somebody
Yeah.
somewhere would have done it. It's not like you're the smartest person in the world. Listen, 5 people invented the steam engine at the same time without the internet in different parts of the world, without communicating with each other. When a time has come, it's there. Like people will do it. And it's just a function of not who creates the thing first. It's who markets the best, who creates the best product, and who markets and creates the best products is the person who does the best market research.
Yeah.
Because marketing is just empathy at scale. If you can talk to a series of individuals and really understands and hear and see where they're coming from, and then create messaging and products that really meet those needs and desires and help them move their life forward in the direction they want to make it, like you're going to be so far ahead of the game because so many people are just winging it. And they're winging it at high risk. They're winging it with other people's money. Like think about all the companies out here that don't make any money. The Ubers of the world, I don't want to pick on tech companies, but like a lot of their business model is grow until somehow we make money in the future. And we're going to make, we don't make any money, but we're going to make it up in volume. We're losing money, but we're making it up in volume. It's like, what is this business model? And you're worth 60 billion? That's insane. Like you don't need to do that to make a really profitable business. Now I'm not trying to be Uber. That's not the point, but like if they just did a little more of the, figuring it out and a little less of the raising money all the time, maybe they'd be more successful. I don't know. That's just my thought, but somehow they get away with it until the market shifts. And now we're in a downturn and now everybody's hurting, right? Because they never had a real business to begin with. Nothing was sustainable to begin with. It's like they run like a government versus a household budget, Anyway, that's my minor digression, but you can have a really solid $1 million mastermind and you just stay one step ahead of the market and you're in good shape.
Beautiful, brother. As we come up on the last few minutes of our show here, I'd love to ask you, the best advice you would give yourself, now being on the other side of an event where you did 10K plus per attendee, knowing what you know now, having captured the lessons learned, now, what best advice would you give Brad of, say, 3 or 6 months ago, when you first started to prepare to do that event?
Yeah. And hey, none of this I'm just one guy of a huge team with many sponsors and many, different speakers. And like, we all served this audience. We all made money, doing that. And we all created a big impact. Like, and we're talking about everybody who's in that room had, at least a decade, if not more, of experience of serving their niche. So, we all did the work. That's number one, right? You don't show up day one and just, invent that result. So that's thing one. Thing two is, so yeah, I guess what the point of that is be patient, right? If you're not there yet, it's okay. Like just keep working on yourself. And, I had a lot of trouble with partnerships over many years. And as somebody who like really prizes relationships, that was like a weird dichotomy. Like, am I the asshole? Or am I picking the right part or the wrong partners? Like, what is happening here? And it took me years to like, just understand that like partnerships like a marriage and it's work and you got to really work on it. And like the same thing with relationships. Like I couldn't keep a relationship going for more than a year. I just realized like it's work. It's never perfect. And you only get the highlight reel on people's social media. So like there's a lot of dichotomies and dynamics in these relationships that I won't bore with people now. Just know that like there's no perfection here. Nobody's walking on water or sailing on cloud nine. People have problems because they're really well figured out in one area and they're really underserved in another area, and that shows up in their business. So the fact that we could all come together as like superheroes with super flaws and still make it work and complement each other, that's just a function of like being adults and teamwork. And that's the growth I've had to do, is like just accepting people for where they're at, trying not to get too burned out or bent out of shape when that's grinding on me. Really owning the outcomes and taking responsibility for stuff, and just not being scared of the numbers. Money's just numbers. It's just math, right? So like to write those huge checks to the hotel, not knowing how the event's going to go is scary. And that's hard. Do I want to do it again, even if it was successful? No, I fucking hate hotels. I hope they all burn to the ground at this point. I fucking hate it. Like it's the worst. And it helped us serve those people. It helped us create that impact. So I can only be so mad, but we're actively looking for other options. Let's put it that way. Like these bucks need to go away. So that's another thing. And then I guess the last thing is just we all make decisions. The whole team, everybody makes the decisions based on what's best for the user at the end of the day, right? What's best for the client, what's best for the customer, what's best for the attendee. And if you just keep that in mind and put your own stuff aside, and like what would be the best for them, then it usually guides you to the right decision.
Great question. I like that guiding question. What's at the end of the day going to be the best for the people that we're serving, the attendees?
Because they want to be there, they want to learn, they want to buy stuff. You just got to get the hell out of your own way and let it happen. So, they all need the help, and if you got the goods, they'll want to buy from you. It's just don't worry about that. Just make it amazing for them. Give them everything you got. Like we literally gave them the entire blueprint for 3 days, like 12-hour days, 2 days, and like a 10-hour day the third day. And we gave them the whole thing. It's like, here's how you build a mastermind. Here's everything, all the scripts. And like, we didn't give them all, every nitty gritty detail just based on time, but like the guy I was telling you, he made $300,000, like everything he learned at the event, he just went and implemented, and he was able to do it right away. And people are still like, oh my God, I need help. I realize how much work this is. And I realize I need guidance. I realize I need touch points. I realize I need accountability. I want to be a part of this group. So they bought the thing anyway. I gave them all the goods already. There was not, now all I have to give them is my time to make sure they do it.
Yeah.
So
Also,
don't be afraid to give too much. I guess that's the point of that.
Yeah. One of the things I learned from Evan is moving the free line forward, right? Give your best stuff up front, and people duplicate, right?
When people see it's possible and they're like, oh, I could see myself doing this, that's the moment. That's the moment of magic where it's like, oh, okay, they can see themselves doing this too. Because everybody's got a fear, everybody's got a trepidation, everybody's got an imposter syndrome, or I just call it all out. And I'm vulnerable first. I told so many vulnerable, authentic stories. I cried a couple times. Like it was awesome. I made a bunch of dirty jokes. Like you can have a lot of fun with this, gang. Just have a lot of fun with it, and people will appreciate it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you for that future self advice, talking to your past self. So for our audience, I encourage you, I invite you to, there's no better way to learn, but by seeing it in action yourself. What a cool opportunity that Brad and Jay have a virtual event coming up in October, Mastermind Millions.live. Check it out. We'll include that link in the show notes as well, Brad. Thank you for being a guest on our show today. Really appreciate you, man. Any final comments or words for our audience?
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Rudy, for having me. And for everybody listening, like I was beating my head against the wall trying to do 2X, trying to double my business, double my business, double my business. And I met a guy named Ben Hardy who wrote a book with Dan Sullivan called 10X is better than 2X. I didn't even read the stupid thing. Don't tell Ben. I just looked at that title. I'm like, he's freaking right. Like it's the same amount of work to do 10 times as it is to do 2 times. Why the hell am I working on 2 times? And that was the moment where I was like, all right, I'm going to go do this event. I'm going to find somebody who already has it. I'm going to work it out, and I'm going to partner, and I'm going to get over my bullshit, and we're going to go do it. And that's what worked for me. And like, it would have took me months to do the same amount of work we did in 3 days. Wow. If everything went perfectly. It's like, you got to go bigger. You got to go bigger. So if an event is in your future, swallow your fear. It's always going to be scary, and just focus on that end result, helping those people, serving those people, and it'll all work out.
Awesome, brother. Well said. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy.